Yo, yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going, online nutrition coach community? Looks like, at least on my end, for some reason I can't see Kate, but let's see, I can hear Kate, which is good because we're about to pull up a presentation for y'all. Y'all showed up today to learn about borrowed audiences. So we're going to run you through 3 step-by-step examples of how clients from our VIP Coach Mentorship actually went from no audience to borrowing an audience to enrolling clients from that borrowed audience. Because I know for me, learning by example is the way that I learn. And last week, if you missed it, the replay is in the online nutrition coach community. Just drop in the stream right now if you need last week's replay, and we can get that over to you. But we will do a quick recap this week, and then that will be the philosophy side of things. And then we'll get into the juicy details, the actual examples of how to use borrowed audiences for you to get clients. So without further ado here, I'm going to pull up the presentation that we got for you today, and we'll dive in. And yes, it's not another guru tactic.
That's right.
Let's get back to the beginning. So this is going to be how 3 coaches ethically borrowed audiences to get inbound clients, because we want you to be doing this ethically, as you will see, not just jumping into somebody else's Facebook group that they created to get their own nutrition coaching clients, and you're going in there trying to poach their audience and get clients. That's not an ethical way of going about it. So we want to show you how to create a really amazing relationship with other audience owners so that you can borrow their audience and they're happy for you to do so versus the other way around. So just a quick recap of what borrowed audiences are. So borrowed audiences, there's a wide range of different audiences that you can borrow. You might be a podcast guest and be borrowing the podcaster's audience. You might host a podcast, and as Kate will talk about in a little bit, you might be borrowing their audience by them promoting that podcast to their audience. You might be guest blogging. You might be doing seminars at gyms. There's doctor referrals that you can go through. There's so many different ways that you can borrow people's audiences. But the thing is, with borrowed audiences, what it really helps you do is it helps you create a lot of trust immediately with potential clients. Because the thing is, people are usually engaged audience members when they trust the person who owns the audience. So when you get to be a guest of that audience owner, or when they showcase you or shout you out, then oftentimes at least a little sliver, a little fraction of the trust that their audience has in that audience owner gets transferred to you. And so it creates inbound leads, and it creates inbound leads who already have trust, which is one of the most important pieces of capital. There's like human capital and there's financial capital, but I think trust capital is one of the most important pieces of capital. Because especially for us as coaches, it's like we want people to come in as prospects and have trust in us. And when they sign up, we want them to have trust in us, because then the coaching experience that they have with you, they have trust. They'll be more compliant. They'll be ideal clients for you instead of energy vampires. So borrowed audiences is a great way for you to get a bunch of clients who you absolutely love. And we'll walk again through that process today. But it's important to know who should use borrowed audiences. And first and foremost, if you want to get more quality inbound leads, it's a no-brainer to use borrowed audiences. And it's also an organic, so essentially a free alternative to running ads to get massive exposure, to get leverage. And the thing with ads that I found is that oftentimes, you get a lot of low quality leads and you're sifting through lots and lots of low quality leads. It takes a lot of time to kind of find the needles in the haystack. Whereas when you use borrowed audiences, it's often the most engaged audience members of somebody else's audience, the people who have maybe paid to be there. Those are the people who end up reaching out to you. And so it's a great, great, great alternative if you want to get massive exposure, lots of quality inbound leads without having to run ads. And the other thing that's amazing about borrowed audiences is by forming these relationships in your network, business isn't going to feel super lonely, And also, with all the trust that you're going to build from borrowed audiences, you can become that go-to coach in your niche. You can occupy people's mind space, where when they think of like, who do I go to when I've got autoimmune? Who do I go to if I've got Crohn's? As what nutrition coach do I need to hire? And your name comes to mind. And the other great thing about borrowed audiences is if you are the type of coach who you've just gotten burned out from other tactics you might have learned from business coaches, like going into Facebook groups, sending out cold Facebook group invites to grow your Facebook group, and just grinding one-to-one, trying to find people on Instagram or trying to find people on Facebook who you can reach out to. If you didn't like that method, then borrowed audiences will definitely be for you. But I will say, if you're a brand spanking new coach, it's good to start planting the seeds of borrowed audiences, but there are things like our Client Launchpad Challenge you can go through that are a really solid starting point. So this is definitely for coaches who, maybe you've already got some experience under your belt, as you'll see with some of the mistakes that coaches make, and, have a little bit more confidence in yourself. Because if you don't have confidence in yourself, you might not have the confidence to get in front of other people's audiences and really knock it out of the park. All right, so that's who this is going to be for today. Now, Kate and I are both going to explain how we've used borrowed audiences really briefly, and then we'll get into our client stories, because both Kate and I have run successful nutrition coaching businesses. So this is not another guru tactic. This isn't something that we learned from somebody else, and now we're just regurgitating it to you with our own spin on it. This is something where, like, through trial and error and through our own processes, we've figured out how to make this work for us. And I just realized that I've been talking this whole time, and this is not even in the stream. I'm still figuring out good old Be Live. But so Kate, how have you used borrowed audiences to grow ketogenic living 101?
Oh, it looks like people can't hear me. I just realized from your comments, which I really appreciate, that no one could hear me. Can you guys hear me now?
I think they should be able to. I just put you in the stream. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll start that over.
No, so borrowed audiences for me was and has been my absolute favorite way to grow my business and to increase trust with my audience. So when I was just getting started, I was really new, and I was not well known in my space. So what I did was I actually reached out to other people that were more well known, that had a larger email list, a larger following. Like, I was on their email list as a fan, and I reached out to them and was like, hey, like, I would love to interview you live on my Facebook and give you more exposure to my audience. Could I talk to you about XYZ topic that, like, they had just sent out an email about? I got yeses all over the place, which was amazing, right? So when I interviewed them on my Facebook, and then I downloaded it, put it on my YouTube channel. But when I interviewed them and I was tagging them because I became friends with them on Facebook, automatically I got authority in my space, because people were like, oh, wow, like, you know her? Oh, you know this doctor? You know that guy? this person that just wrote this book. And I was like, yeah. And I got them to speak to my audience. Then I would tag them all over the place and let them know, hey, like I just interviewed this person. Make sure you watch the replay. It was really great. I also reached out to other companies that had products that were selling to my niche. And I asked them if I could help promote them. Did they have an affiliate program? That would be amazing. But if not, I just love to promote them to my followers. Could I potentially offer them a discount? Because I love your product or service. And I think it's so great. So again, by reaching out to them and offering to promote them, and then affiliating with them, promoting them to my followers, people are like, oh, wow, like you have a relationship with ButcherBox? Oh, you have a relationship with Tasteaholics? Like that group of people, it was like, people were like, oh, like if you've got a relationship with them, then they must trust you. So yeah, like I'd love to talk with you. I'd love for you to coach me. That's truly how I ended up growing that, and like Facebook Lives. But borrowed audiences for me grew my following, grew my trust, really grew my business. I really attribute it to what it is today, to what I did with borrowed audiences.
Yeah, awesome. And I love having you share your story as well, because your approach to borrowed audiences was very different from mine. And everybody here is going to see that the 3 different case studies or step-by-step examples we're going to walk through are also very different. So for me, my initial approach to borrowed audiences was actually, I just borrowed the audience of the gym that I was both a member and a coach at, the CrossFit gym. And like, I was lucky, we had like 500 members, I think it was. But initially I just figured out, how can I create a win for people in this gym? And initially it looked like, back in the day, CrossFit gyms had their daily WOD blog. So, usually it would be, here's the workout of the day. And then I would write on Thursdays, I would do a nutrition column where I would just share a couple nutrition tips. And that started getting me in front of people. I'd occasionally put stuff in our member newsletter. And then eventually the gym owner was like, hey, would you run a challenge? And so I was able to then borrow the audience by running a challenge, and I was able to get clients that way. And I was able to leverage up. And I actually, because I was able to have the confidence and deliver well with borrowed audiences, it got me in front of other audiences. So it just so happened that the host of the Wadcast podcast, which was the biggest CrossFit podcast at the time, would drop into our gym. And they just happened to see that I was putting up those nutrition posts, and they just happened to get to know me through what I was doing and hear about me. And they asked me if I would be on their podcast, funny enough, when they had a last minute cancellation. So I just happened to get slotted in. And then I ended up, thankfully, being relatively prepared for it. I had been writing a lot about nutrition, and I'd been running these seminars, and I felt really ready for it. And when I got on that podcast, it ended up being one of their top 10 podcasts of all time. I think I was ranked just below Rich Froning or something like that. And so, I was able to then say, hey, I've been on the biggest CrossFit podcast. I was able to get onto other CrossFit podcasts and other fitness podcasts. And I was able to really leverage borrowed audiences to get in front of more and more and more audiences. And I was able to grow Beyond Macros and Beyond Macros audience. So the audience that I owned, without a whole bunch of ads and going out and grinding one-on-one conversations. All right, so borrowed audiences, again, this is not another guru tactic. This is something that Kate and I have both used to grow our own businesses. We've taken a bunch of different approaches to it and refined those approaches, and we've helped 3 clients who you're going to see to do the same with their businesses. So, I've mentioned before, like borrowed audience, there's tons and tons of benefits here. I'm not going to go through them all, but the thing is that we see a lot of coaches making a bunch of mistakes. So before we get into these case studies, I want to make sure you understand what some of the pitfalls are that we see coaches making and that both Kate and I have made in our own process. So the first and foremost is a mindset one. Just assuming that nobody will help you out. Nobody would be willing to refer to you. Nobody would be willing to have you on their podcast. Just fully writing yourself off and never creating a hot list of potential borrowed audiences that could be great referral sources or could be great audiences for you to get your message in front of. So that's the first one that we see coaches making. The other is just going in and taking, going in with a mindset of what can I get out of this relationship, rather than creating a win for the audience owner, a win for their audience, and a win for you as kind of a secondary measure. Now, the other thing is it's really important once you actually get in front of borrowed audiences to get your content right. So if your content actually is more confusing to people, or you give them so much to chew on that, they need to actually, chew it, swallow it before they're even willing to reach out to you, it's not going to convert. So you need to make sure that you can create content that gives them enough value and builds enough trust that, they're not confused and that they want to reach out and that they want extra help. Who here has been listening to a podcast and been like, oh, this person's cool and all, but I feel like their approach to things is too complicated. That wouldn't help me. And you never reach out. Or you go to a seminar and, somebody delivers way too much information and you're like, wow, this is a lot for me to handle. Maybe I should, do a bunch of this on my own. Or maybe you think, oh, their approach is way too confusing. Their approach is way too difficult. I would never pay to have somebody help me do this. We see that so often, and who's experienced that for themselves. So we got to make sure that your content isn't confusing people and that it's actually converting people. And then it doesn't just end once you've talked to that borrowed audience. It doesn't just end when you've had the podcast guest experience. It doesn't just end once you've finished up the workshop at the gym. It doesn't just end when you've finished the webinar for somebody else's Facebook group. Because once you've done that, you need to make a call to action. And if you don't have a VIP coaching offer, if you don't have something that really hits the nail on the head for those prospects that you've just gotten onto sales calls, you're going to have less conversions. You're going to have less people who are like, yeah, that's for me, sign me up. So you got to make sure that you've got the right offer in place and the right call to action to get people in front of it. And then the other thing, and this is really, really important, is you have to remember that these are ongoing relationships that you're forming with people. It's not just you get on the podcast and that's that. I've been invited back to speak on podcasts multiple times because I've developed relationships with the podcast host. And so if that podcast host, for example, you go on a guest's experience, you have a great call to action, you have a great offer, you get a bunch of people signed up, and then you don't fulfill on your promises and, you don't get those people results and you don't give them the VIP treatment, then that bad word of mouth is going to get back to the podcast host. People are going to be like, hey, that guy, Matt, who was on your show, he sounded really good. I signed up with him, but, just the experience was really bad. I didn't feel like I got what I paid for, blah, blah, blah. And then do you think that podcast host is going to want to invite you back if a bunch of people in their audience have been burned by you? And the answer is no. So you got to make sure that, you're really fulfilling on your promises. And all of the coaches who we're going to talk about today, they're not making these mistakes. They're doing a great job. So, Kate, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I know you're going to explain the first two case studies step by step. So, I know I've also got control of the presentation. So just hold if I'm slow, clicking through.
All right, awesome. Let's do it. I can't wait to celebrate these coaches. So, oh my gosh, you guys hear me celebrate Deval, and I'm about to pump him up a little bit even more because this guy is just kicking ass and taking names. So here's the thing. Deval's an amazing coach, right? But he's growing his Facebook group. He's got a free Facebook group, but we were noticing it was just the same eyeballs on his content week after week, the same people commenting and engaging. And some were clients, some were family members, but it was just the same people. And what we knew too was that we didn't want to dump a bunch of money in ads. We didn't want to. They just weren't. It just wasn't the direction that we needed to go. So we were looking at what's the next strategy? So it was borrowed audiences. All right, next screen. So here was the first step that he did. We established his hot list. So we looked at the networking groups that he's already a part of. And he's actually a part of a few Facebook communities, one in which he is really well networked with about 100 other online business owners. And he's built a lot of trust and rapport with these people. So what we did was he looked into this group, looked at who he was connected with, and he looked at some other coaches and advisors, people who had a similar audience as him, like his niche client would be served by this person, but not in the same way. So a lot of the people that we were looking at were wealth advisors, financial advisors, investment coaches, business coaches, and he was able to reach out to them directly. Then what he did was he crafted a win-win pitch. So this was specifically for a financial advisor whom he saw was asking a lot of good questions, posting a lot of good content in this Facebook community. He became an engaged member of this guy's audience, right? And so he built trust with him through socially supporting him. He was, commenting and building that rapport inside of the group. And as a member of this guy's Facebook community, was being an active member of that community, asking good questions, commenting on the guy's posts, like socially supporting him. So when he reached out and positioned his webinar, it was a total win-win for the advisor and a win for his community. This financial advisor is looking for people who are going to be around for a lot of years. Well, how can they increase their longevity? Through improving their health. So he was able to develop a referral partnership with this guy too, because, he knew that this particular advisor really knows what he's talking about and is a great advisor. So he knows that he could refer people over to him. So what he did then was he created conversion content. He created a webinar that is actually a part of what he does in his offer process, his VIP offer that he guides his clients through. It's simplifying nutrition. It's allowing people to continue to pretty much eat whatever they want, like not even change things, but actually just changing their habits around food. So during this presentation, he consistently seeded coaching. He let people know that what he was going to teach them today was a piece of the puzzle, a really important piece of the puzzle, but just a piece. And puzzles have many pieces. He helped the participants, he helped everybody that was on the webinar demystify healthy eating, thinking that they could only eat, boiled chicken and like a little bit of rice, and that was going to be it, the bro diet. And he made the changes feel easy to implement, again, because he wasn't challenging them to change anything about their nutrition. And then he put a very simple call to action, which was just to book a call with him. Yeah. So then what we did with Duvall, you guys hear me, I call him lovingly, and it's just so true. I call him the triage king, because this guy, we call triage like value calls. He, just from that one talk, just from that one webinar, he booked over 90 value calls, over 90 15-minute value calls. And actually to date, because he's now borrowed this guy's audience for a second time and another similar person, he's now booked close to 300 value calls from 3 separate borrowed audiences appearances. He's got a consistent flow of leads to nurture. And when he does these, he consistently has the best months ever in his business. Right now, we're working through the calls from this most recent borrowed audience presentation. I think he ended up booking 73 and counting. And 73 calls, guys, from one webinar presentation. Think about what that could do for your business. And now we're just working on closing it. I mean, really, like, what would 73 calls on your calendar of people who already know they want to talk to you about their nutrition, about coaching? Yeah, guys.
Yeah, it would definitely be a game changer. And the thing is, he's an amazing coach, and he's got a VIP offer. He's got an actual VIP program where the people come in and they stick around. So, he's got all the pieces in place.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, like, and this is why, like, he has that trust and rapport with people. Because, I mean, he's got a lot of client testimonials. People who have been referred to him are going back and like telling the advisor and telling these people whose audience he was in, like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. His client lifetime value is through the roof. Like, this guy is truly a VIP coach. It's such an honor to work with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paul's the man. All right. Well, are we ready to move on to our next study? Is that helpful for y'all to see what the process looked like, how he was going? And Justine said, mind blown emoji. That would be awesome and chaos to have that many calls.
Yeah. But that's when you become waitlisted. And that's when
Exactly.
there's an application to like actually even get on a call with you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's move on to Tiffany.
Yes. Oh my God. I love my girl Tiff. Okay. So this is actually the result that she got. She hit her January goal for new client enrollments. She's creating the same workshop and challenge structure at other local gyms. And she's also officially the nutrition coach for 2 local gyms as a result of what she's been doing here. So what she did first, like when she had actually run a small challenge at her gym before. They had approached her about it, and it was like this little small like freebie challenge. But she talked to them again. She established her hot list of like looking at, okay, where are the lowest hanging pieces of fruit, right? Well, I've got my current gym. That's number 1. There's other local gyms that I could partner with that I know people at. I know the owners, or I know some of the members there. So again, that's pretty low hanging fruit for me. And what are some additional local businesses? Where are some local practitioners, health practitioners, or where is my client? Now, Tiff's ideal client is somebody who is already going to the gym, already working out. So her CrossFit community is perfect. Her local gyms are perfect. And for local businesses, if she's already looking to work with people who work out, any boutique stores that are selling fitness equipment or workout wear, athleisure, anything like that could potentially be a great audience for Tiff to get in front of. So she made the list. Then she crafted that win-win-win pitch, right? So it started with her local gym, the gym that she was already a member of. So she sat down with the owners and she really capitalized on like that new year, but it was really smart what she did. She started the challenge in mid-January because people were rushing to join in the beginning, but we've talked about this before, guys. January 12th is the day that most people give up on their New Year's resolutions. So what she did was she actually started her challenge right around that time, which helped the gym retain its members, especially people that were paying monthly and had already dropped off by that second week. So she knew the needs of the gym. She also knew the needs of the gym members. They needed something simple, something doable, something accessible that they could stick with. So this was such a win. She did a workshop and a challenge. And what was amazing is what she talked to them about. She's like, look, like I'm going to handle everything. I just need you to like tell people about it when the members are coming in. Let them know what we're doing, when it's happening, and I'm going to take care of the rest. I'm going to take care of all the delivery and everything else. So the gym was literally able to just kind of sit back and promote it across their pages, which again was a win for them to let them know, hey, we're doing this really cool thing for our members. And what she did first was we teach this in our mentorship, how to do like a seminar. So she did like a free workshop. She had 19 people there, and then it fed into a paid challenge, and there were t-shirts, which was really cool. So it fed into a paid challenge. I feel like I'm giving you all the things. Can we go to step 3? So it fed into a paid challenge, again, that she negotiated a good split with her gym. And then she had 14 people registering for that, but she had already gotten people interested from that free seminar that she did that wanted to work with her one-on-one. Yeah. So she during that seminar, she was definitely seeding the coaching, like letting them know like, hey, we've got this thing coming up, but listen, like this is going to be a really basic challenge. If you're somebody who is a little bit more advanced or gosh, has been going to the gym for a little while now, and you're still, and you've been quote unquote eating clean, but you're still kind of struggling, then let's kind of talk off to the side because it sounds like you could benefit from, a more one-on-one coaching. But even during this challenge, and it's not over yet, she's been consistently seeding the coaching because letting them know that like, hey, like it's not going to stop here because people have already been asking, okay, well, I know that this is ending soon. What's next? She's also has gotten some prizes donated from a local business, something that's super cool, goes right in line with her offer and how she coaches people. And then she's getting all this momentum. It's resulting in consultations. And of course, it's resulting in clients. And like I said, She's hitting her January goal. She's already hit that January goal, and now we're working towards her February goal. And just so you guys know, Tiff is a busy working mom, right? You can go to the next slide, Matt.
Yeah,
Tiff
cool.
is a busy working mom. She has 2 kids. One is in the house, one is in college. She also is a speech therapist. So and that's her own business that she has at some local schools. She doesn't have a huge social media following, and she loves teaching. So what she was really looking at is, how do I generate local leads? This was how. And now, as I mentioned, she's a nutrition coach now, the exclusive nutrition coach for 2 gyms. 2 gyms. It started off with 1, and that built her confidence enough. And we were like, why don't you reach out to this other one? She was like, okay. So coachable. Tiff, love this girl. She did. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. It's not something that we're currently offering our members, and it's something that we know that they could benefit from.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about 2 completely different ways to borrow an audience. Tiffany has borrowed an audience from a gym, and she's run what we call our IRL funnel in our VIP coach mentorship program. You've got Duvall, who has borrowed audiences from Facebook groups and influencers, especially in the financial planning space. It's been a really good referral relationship that's been built up, and that is an online one. So you've seen how you can do it both online and in real life. We're not going to be talking about his case study today, but one of our coaches, Blake, he wanted to build his business, but his main thing was he didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time on social media, and he didn't want to do the old way of, going into other Facebook groups and trying to grow his Facebook group and, talking to a bunch of people in Messenger. He just didn't feel it was great for his mental health. He really wanted to establish a solid in-person network. And through doing a very similar approach to Tiff, Blake also has been filling up his client base just from in-person events. And now that the world's opening back up, I'm so excited that we're able to see coaches utilizing these in-person strategies as well as online to grow their online businesses. Because, Tiff, these clients are coming from in-person things. Blake, his clients are coming from in-person things, but they're coaching them online. It's totally possible. So I'm curious, we're going to move on to a third. Is this helping so far? First and foremost, just, I'm giving you guys my boundaries here. It really helps for me to hear from you. Otherwise, I feel like I'm just talking to a screen. So has this been helpful for you so far? And the other question I'm going to ask you is, do you feel like you would be leaning more towards an in real life or an online borrowed audience? So drop that in the chat for me just so I can see, and we will move on to our final step-by-step example. And this one I wanted to bring you all because this is one of my clients, Holly. Holly was living in China, so she had no access to social media, which is why I wanted to share her case study with you. This was purely an in real life example of how to crush it with borrowed audiences. So she was originally, when we first started working together, she was side hustling. She had another job and she felt stuck in it because she had enough nutrition clients that it kind of took all of her extra time outside of her job, but she, didn't really have enough time to make a push and get more and get enough that she could stop working her other job. So she was wondering, okay, how do I cross that chasm to go from side hustle to full time, especially when I can't use social media? Like, it's literally blocked in China. I can't go on Facebook. I can't go on Instagram. I can't go on any of these social media platforms. And even the Chinese based ones like WeChat, a lot of her functionality was blocked because she was a foreigner. And she was wondering, how do I generate leads without an audience like this? And so we used borrowed audiences. And Holly is an absolutely brilliant human being. And so what she did was she knew, like, she was a CrossFitter, just like me. So she went to the local CrossFit gyms and she had some chats with them. And one of them in particular was really interested in having her do a challenge. She also went and talked to some local businesses because she thought, you know what, there's some businesses like that, stock the retail section of this gym. So maybe those businesses and their audiences could help me promote this and We can create a good referral relationship. And she's also an expat. She was from the UK living in China. And so there were local expat networking groups. And so, she was able to establish a hot list of seeing which of those groups might be willing to have her do a seminar, because, that kind of fit her starter niches for her clients. And once she established this hot list, she started talking to all of them. And the first thing was this gym with a bunch of members was super keen on what she had to offer. So she crafted a win-win-win pitch. She had a conversation with them, saw what they wanted. They wanted a challenge. So she met with the owner, kind of uncovered what they would want for their members, what their members were needing. And she was able to position her seminar as a win for that owner, a win for the clients. And what she did was she was going to charge for it. The owner wanted people to pay for it because the owner believed that people wouldn't have skin in the game if they didn't. It was pretty nominal. Holly ended up getting the majority of the split. She took responsibility for most of the promotion and just essentially created the creative, the copywriting, the images, all that the gym would then push for her. Like I said, she didn't really have access to the social media networks in China, but the gym did. So she was able to get them to end up promoting her. And she also talked to local businesses like local meal prep companies and local supplement companies. And so she connected with the owners and sales reps and figured out that they would be willing to provide prizes. So they were going to sponsor an entire day of the challenge. It was a 4-week challenge. So she had four different sponsors, and each one sponsored a week. They pushed out her seminar to all of their followers because they also had access to the Chinese social media platforms that she was limited on. So she was able to leverage and get in front of their networks. And she essentially was able to then at that point run her anti-challenge. So her thing was she didn't want to run a challenge, and she negotiated with the business owner to do an anti-challenge. And throughout, she consistently seeded what she would do with her clients. And that showed people that she was a coach. And people started hearing that. And they would ask her questions, and they would be like, hey, like you've talked about your clients. Like, can we talk about that sometime? She ended up signing up 2 clients before the 6-week anti-challenge even wrapped up. All right. And with her content, the important thing is she helped the participants become aware of their obstacles, and she gave them a framework to solve them. So she wasn't overfilling them with a bunch of information, but she was helping them become more aware of their obstacles and problems and helping them figure out how to solve it. The other great thing is that, she ended up making a couple $1,000s just from people who signed up and joined. But the really impressive thing, and anyone doing in real life stuff, oftentimes you'll get the majority of people show up on week 1, and then it really drops off to the final week. Well, with Holly, because she did such a good job of creating a hook or a cliffhanger at the end of her content each day, and there were prizes that people could win for showing up to the next one, she had almost full attendance the entire time. And she offered people a free momentum consult afterwards. And so she got 2 clients before this even wrapped up who were paying her. And then those people were like her biggest advocates sitting in the seminar. And when she offered a free momentum consult, her clients were like, oh my gosh, you guys got to do it. And she ended up getting tons booked. And she got a bunch of clients. And ultimately, she collected over $10,000 from participants and enrollments. So between the clients that she enrolled plus the price to actually join this, she was able to collect over $10K, which is the most she'd ever been able to earn from nutrition coaching, and allowed her to finally quit her job, cross the chasm, and she moved to Bali. She also increased her recurring client revenue to over $5,000 a month, which made her feel really confident in her ability to do this. And the great thing is that it wasn't just a one-off borrowed audience. Even though she ended up moving to Bali, she had all of these other gyms that before she left wanted her to do the same challenge. She had a few of those expat groups, like one of the leaders of one of those expat groups and a leader of a business networking group. They came to that first one and they said, hey, would you be willing to do this for our groups? And so she got in front of a bunch more. This is leverage. She did one, impressed people, and she got invited to do a whole lot more. And she's just been living the dream ever since. All right. So hopefully you all found that helpful. And I just want to remind you here. That there are plenty of mistakes that you might make. I hope that you will take what you've learned over the last 2 weeks about borrowed audiences and that you will seriously consider implementing this in your own business. And I'm hoping that through the examples that we've shared, you've gotten plenty of ideas about how you can implement this. But again, I want to remind you that there are these mistakes and I do not want you to make them. I've said it 3 times now. This is the 3rd time. There was last week, there was the beginning of the stream, and there's now. Because again, I don't want you to fall into these traps. So if you're sitting there thinking nobody's going to help you out, nobody's going to want to have you as a guest, and you don't even get started creating a hot list of potential referral partners and audiences, you're just getting in your own way. Get out of your own way. At least make the list. At least try to pitch them. At least try to get a conversation and see what happens. You might be really surprised. All right. Now, when it comes to actually setting this up, remember, if you have this what do I stand to gain attitude, people are going to smell it on you and they're not going to want to help you. So if you can instead come at it as how can I help this person win? What do they want? What do they want to achieve? What does their audience need? And you can create those wins. Then you will win. All right. Another really important thing is that I see so many people get the first things right. They build out their hot list. They make a good pitch. They maybe find a gym that's willing to have them do a seminar, or they find a podcast host who's willing to have them guest. But then they blow it when it comes to the delivery of the content. They get on the podcast and they're not media trained. They go all over the shop. They say controversial things that repel people versus attracting, or they do a seminar and they create content that just goes all over the shop. They're, teaching people about macros one day, food quality the next day, sleep the next. And, they have 15 different topics that they're teaching on, and it just confuses people and nobody ends up converting into clients. And I see that one far too often. You don't want to fumble the goal at the 1-yard line. All right. And then the other thing that's huge is, I've seen people get a ton of leads. They do a good job with the content. They do a good job with the call to action, but they just don't really have an offer that lands with the network that they just got access to. So if you get access to somebody's audience and your offer doesn't really match them, well, you've kind of got to figure out, how do I create a VIP offer that would match the audiences that I'm getting access to? And that's totally, these are things that we can help you guys with. All right. We don't want you to make these mistakes. And then the last thing is, you got to make sure that if somebody joins your program from a borrowed audience or a referral, you want to make sure that they're going back to whoever referred them and saying, oh my gosh, my experience with Matt, my experience with Kate has been so amazing. Thank you for the referral. Who does this really well is actually AJ Morton. He's always posting screenshots of people thanking him for connecting them with mentors. We want people who we enroll to go back to whoever told them to enroll with us and be like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because then whoever referred to us, when they're getting thank yous from people that you've helped, they're going to be more inclined to send more people your way. People like that. They like to feel like they've made a difference in people's lives. But if you go the other way and you get bad word of mouth and you don't get invited back and you burn a bunch of bridges, good luck becoming the go-to in your niche. Good luck digging yourself out of that hole. All right. So you want to make sure that you're avoiding those mistakes. So this is a quick recap. So in order to succeed with borrowed audiences, you need to create a targeted hot list. You need to create a win-win-win pitch for the owner of the audience. You need to create conversion content that converts versus confusing. You got to have a VIP offer so that once you make a call to action and you get calls booked or you get conversations going, that people actually say yes when it comes time to signing up with you. And you need to make sure that you deliver an amazing experience to those folks so that the referral engine keeps turning. All right. And when you do all this, you end up getting leverage. Like Tiffany, finding another gym to work with. Like Holly, getting invited to speak at networking groups and other gyms. Like Deval, getting invited to speak in other Facebook groups. because of the amazing experience that they've given both for free to people's audiences and then to the people who have signed up with them afterwards. So again, like I said, we can totally help you out with this if you would like help. If you want to just take this and run with it on your own, cool. But if you do want help and you want to try a new way of generating leads and you actually want some one-on-one support through the process of building out your hot list and finding out how to contact them, if you want that one-on-one support about how to create conversion content instead of content that confuses, if you want help building out your VIP offer and creating a VIP experience, all of these things are things that we can help you with. So there's no pressure to sign up if you apply. You don't have to immediately set up a call either. But if you go to this link here and you apply for our coaching, what it essentially does is it gets you a spot on our waiting list. You'll be asked to fill out about 15 questions that just lets us understand a little bit more about your business so that we can figure out, does it make sense for you to join our VIP mentorship, or maybe do you need to start with our academy? We'll make sure we point you in the right direction. But if you feel like doing these things, dialing in borrowed audiences, having a VIP offer, having a VIP experience would really be the way that you want to approach building your business. And that's the important thing. If this is the way that you want to approach building your business, then I would encourage you to at least apply and see whether or not there's the possibility that we can help you. And I say that that's an important thing. Is it the way you want to build your business? Because you've got a choice. If you want to run ads to a webinar and do strategy sessions, or if you want to go into Facebook groups and, try to connect with people one-on-one and try not to get kicked out, if you want to run your business that way, or post and pray, or, any of these other strategies you might be running, if that's the way that you want to grow your business, good on you, go for it. But if you see the value in what we've taught you today, I definitely encourage you to apply. So hopefully you found this super valuable. I'd love to, for those of you who are still here, I'd love to hear some of your takeaways and what some of your action steps would be. So again, drop that in the comments. That's what encouraged us to make sure that we're continuing to bring you this level of value. And Kate and I will hop back on so we can say bye. I can't see Kate's video. Be live, still learning it. Second time.
I know. I think it's Mercury retrograde thing. I'm not sure.
But since we can't hear you, Kate, I've been jabbering away for a while. Is there anything that you want to wrap up with before we finish here?
Yeah, so something that I did, and I would encourage you to do the same when you're looking for people whose audience you want to potentially borrow, is also think about who would your audience love to hear from? What type of person would they really benefit from? Would they love to hear from a stylist who's talking about how to style your body, style your mind, body confidence? Would they love to hear from an acupuncturist who could teach them how to do little things on themselves without needles? Who would your audience love to hear from? So because you doing that then, right, you're inviting somebody else to borrow your audience, and then, let the law of reciprocity do its thing. But by giving your audience something that's of value to them, you've again done something to build your trust with them, to let them know who else you're connected to. Right? And then when it comes to creating your presentation for borrowed audiences, again, like Matt said, keep it simple. Preferably it's something that you do as a coach, a part of your VIP offer. But I also want you to think of, what do you want to be known for? What do you want people to think of when they hear your name? Right? One of our coaches, when people hear her name, they think of, ooh, she is the coach for entrepreneurs with autoimmune, right? Mm-hmm. When you hear about Matt and Kate, I really hope that you think of us as VIP offers and experiences. And now, the people who are coming to you with borrowed audience training. But what is it that you want to be known for? What type of legacy do you want to leave? What do you really need people to understand? And I really hope that thinking about these things gets you really excited, really jazzed up to take your business to the next level and get in front of more audiences to grow your impact and increase your income.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Thanks for that, Kate. Thanks for everybody who showed up. Hopefully you found that valuable. Hopefully it got the wheels turning about different approaches you might want to take towards borrowed audiences. And again, if you would like help with the implementation process of this, all you got to do is apply, and we'll see whether or not there's a possibility we can help. And you can get on our waiting list, and if a spot opens up, we might be able to get you in there. All right, y'all. Hope you have an amazing day. Peace.